Plato was born in the heart of Athens in the years 427 or 428 BC, as the city roared at the height of the Peloponnesian War. The city was alive with the noise of commerce, the clamor of politics, and the anxious murmurs of a nation at war. His given name was Aristocles, but the world would come to know him as Plato, a name perhaps drawn from the breadth of his shoulders, or as many would say, from the breadth of his thinking. He arrived in a world balanced between grandeur and uncertainty, a world that would soon shape and test the foundations of its greatest minds. Born into a family of wealth and influence, Plato's early life reflected privilege and possibility. His father traced their ancestry to the kings of Athens and Messenia. His mother's family included lawgivers and reformers. From his earliest days, Plato was groomed not just to inherit his family's status, but to become a statesman, a leader molded by the ideals of Athens itself. His childhood unfolded in open courtyards, where the soft buzz of tutors reciting grammar mixed with the laughter of boys at play. He learned poetry, music, and mathematics, the pillars of Athenian education. Wrestling in the gymnasium, he trained his body. Listening to eloquent orators, he honed his mind. These were the foundations expected of any son of noble birth, a preparation for a future spent guiding his city. But the world Plato inherited was not destined for stability. As he reached young adulthood, the Peloponnesian War began to unravel the fabric of Athenian life. The city darkened with fear and with loss. Athens' proud navy was burned in the harbor. The streets echoed with the fury and despair of a people watching their democracy collapse. Political leaders were executed in the public square. Old alliances dissolved. The city staggered under the weight of defeat. In this chaos, Plato's hopes of pursuing a life in politics began to shift. Amidst the turmoil, Plato encountered a man who would change his life forever, Socrates. Old, barefoot, and uncompromising, Socrates walked the streets of Athens, questioning everything and everyone. He refused to accept easy answers. He sought wisdom through dialogue, not dogma. Plato was captivated by this approach. Socrates challenged him to think deeply, to examine every belief, to never settle for simple solutions. In a city where certainty was crumbling, Socrates offered the certainty of questioning. Plato's apprenticeship under Socrates was transformative. But in 399 BC, Athens turned on its philosopher. Socrates was accused of corrupting the youth and impiety, hauled before a jury, and condemned to death. Plato watched as his teacher stood calmly in the shadowed court, then later in the quiet gloom of his prison cell. Surrounded by friends, Socrates drank the cup of hemlock, and silence fell. For Plato, the death of his mentor shattered his faith in politics and in the judgment of the crowd. If Athens could kill its wisest citizen, what hope was there for justice or wisdom in the affairs of men? Plato abandoned his dreams of political leadership, seeking instead a deeper mission. For nearly 12 years, Plato wandered beyond Athens, carrying Socrates' lessons with him. He traveled across the Greek world, to Megara, to the temples of Egypt, to Cyrene, to southern Italy. In Egypt, he spoke with priests under palm trees, learning the mystical and mathematical traditions of the Nile. In Italy, he debated with Pythagoreans, contemplating the secrets of numbers and the structure of reality. Under the stars, in distant lands, Plato gathered knowledge and perspective. He wasn't running from Athens, he was gathering the tools to build something greater, a new way of understanding the world. In 387 BC, Plato returned to Athens, his mind rich with ideas. On the outskirts of the city, in a shaded grove sacred to the hero Academus, he founded the Academy, the first true university in history. There was no tuition, no politics, only the pursuit of knowledge. Under fig trees and in the coolness of shaded porticos, students gathered to learn from Plato. Above the entrance was carved a simple warning: let no one ignorant of geometry enter. In this garden of ideas, philosophy blossomed anew. The Academy became a beacon, a place where questions mattered more than titles, where the search for truth was a shared journey. It was during these years that Plato wrote his greatest works. By the quiet glow of lamplight, he dipped his quill and filled scroll after scroll with dialogues that would shape the future of philosophy. In the Republic, he explored justice and the ideal state. In the Apology, he preserved the voice of Socrates for generations to come. In the Symposium, he investigated the nature of love, while in Phaedo, he confronted the meaning of death and the immortality of the soul. The Gorgias, the Laws, and many others followed. These dialogues were more than stories. They were blueprints for understanding truth, justice, and the good life. Yet Plato's quest didn't end within the walls of the academy. In 367 BC, he accepted an invitation to Sicily, hoping to transform a tyrant, Dionysius II, into a philosopher king. It was a bold experiment, a test of whether philosophy could truly shape power. But the court of Syracuse was rife with intrigue and betrayal. Plato's ideals met harsh reality. He was watched by guards, betrayed by those he hoped to guide, and eventually imprisoned. Released through the efforts of friends, he returned to Athens with a renewed understanding. Philosophy does not bend to the will of power. In his final years, Plato turned to the challenge of law and governance. He wrote the Laws, a work less about perfect ideals and more about practical codes for real cities. Though age slowed his steps, his mind remained sharp and restless. Surrounded by students in the academy garden, he guided a new generation toward wisdom. Plato died in Athens, aged over 80, perhaps at a wedding feast or in his sleep. Accounts differ. His passing marked the end of one life, but the beginning of an enduring legacy. Plato's influence reached far beyond his own time. He preserved the memory and method of Socrates. He taught Aristotle, who would teach Alexander and shape the course of Western thought. Through the academy, he established the model of the university, a place where minds could meet freely in search of truth. His dialogues became the foundation stones of philosophy, studied by thinkers from Augustine to Aquinas, from Descartes to Kant. But perhaps his greatest gift was a question, a challenge to every generation. What is the good? Plato didn't just live in Athens, he outlived it. His mind still echoes across millennia, every time we pause to ask why. The unexamined life, he taught, is not worth living. And so his journey continues, wherever minds gather to seek wisdom.